Building projects is something that I've always said is one of the best ways that you can learn how to code. If you're a beginner and you're in this kind of mind space where you're only taking tutorials and you're only taking courses, watching YouTube videos and thinking that you're learning, that's great. But eventually you're going to have to start actually coding and actually applying the concepts that you're learning, right? The best way to do this is project-based learning, and time again, it has been proven to be one of the best ways to learn a skill is by actually completing projects that, let you apply concepts. And that doesn't apply to anything more than coding. If you're just starting out and you can get a couple of, projects under your belt that are very simple and that kind of just familiarize yourself with how to code, how to push code, how to build a product and kind of stay consistent, then you can start working on more complex projects that you can put on your resume, that you can talk about during interviews, and that will greatly help you get a job and make that switch from whatever job you have right now to a full-time position as a software engineer. Right, guys? Too many people don't spend enough time actually coding and actually building projects, and they spend too much time wasting their time on tutorials, on courses, on all this garbage that really is just, making them feel better and making them feel like they're actually learning, but in reality, they're avoiding the real work, which is coding and getting these projects done. And guys, these 3 projects I'm about to talk about are kind of simple. They're not the craziest. They're not like the hardest things in the world to do, but they will give you a better understanding of what being a software engineer is like. And it'll give you an insight onto different, scopes within the software engineering field. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to like and subscribe. What we do here is I talk to you guys about how to become a software engineer, try to give you tips on making the career switch, or if you're a student, how you can succeed in becoming a software engineer. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So the first thing that you can do kind of as a side project for yourself, if you're a beginner, is create an endpoint, make an API so that you can understand how the web works. Right? This is a very, very important skill, and it's very useful when you're a software engineer. Making an endpoint kind of lets you connect the client side of an application to the back end of an application, and then to the database as well. And if you can kind of build a successful API, you really have everything you need to build a successful product. And it's a lot of really valuable information. It gives you a lot of experience on front end as well as back end development because you're connecting the two, right? That's kind of what an API does. And in my opinion, it's one of the more fun projects you can work on because, like I said before, this is like very real world stuff that, companies like Facebook and all this, they're built around these endpoints and these APIs. So if you can build one successfully, honestly, it's great. It's a great experience to have. Another project that I think you should build if you're a programmer trying to become a software engineer is a game. Some sort of game, maybe like the Snake game, for example, or Tetris or something like that. But let's stick with the Snake game. Building a game like this really gives you a lot of important knowledge to become a software engineer, but in a different kind of capacity. Right? Like if you create a Snake game, for example, you're going to have to create a GUI and, use stuff like Java and Python and really work with stuff like animation as well, making the snake move around. It's coding and it's software engineering, but it's completely different than making, an endpoint or an API, right? So it'll give you a lot of basic logic on how to build a game, right? You're probably going to have to do a lot of object-oriented programming. So it'll definitely teach you some things regarding that, which is very important for many software engineers in the world. And really, it'll give you the experience yet again of building a project from start to finish. And it'll definitely be a more unorthodox project that, unless you're going to become a game developer or something like that, you'll probably not really work on again. But it could spark a passion where, you realize, oh, maybe I do want to work on video games and this really is something I want to pursue. And finally, the third project I would recommend that you guys try to build on your own if you're, just embarking on your journey as a software engineer is to build a web server. If you can build a web server along with the API that you built as the first project that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that's really everything you need, and you're kind of like the complete package when it comes to building a product. If you can kind of build a web server that hosts your API, that lets you connect to your backend and your database, then you kind of have your own kind of cloud storage kind of thing. And that's really those 2 things, an API and a web server, is all you really need. That's the foundation of every single big product, big app, and a big website that you've seen today. That's kind of the building blocks and what you build around. So that kind of experience, building a web server, hosting an API on it, that's such an awesome experience and a great project for you guys to build. So guys, don't forget, when you're trying to learn how to code, the best way to do that is by coding, is by building projects. You don't have to start with the most complicated project in the world. You start with something simple, something you can build in a week, maybe 2, and then after a couple months, you have a handful of projects, and then you could build something more complex and really kind of understand that it's a slow process. But if you stay consistent and if you stay committed to coding and building these projects, you're going to get so much better. It'll be amazing. So guys, build an API, build a state game, and build a web server, and I guarantee you will be so much better off afterwards. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you think there's anything I missed, anything you disagree with, or any others kind of side projects that you'd recommend people build. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and as always guys, take it easy.